Hi, I'm your Huckleberry. Hi everyone, it's Mark here again, Space Cowboy, and I'm back with my favourite kind of video, and that is of course a pickups video. So in this episode I get to show you all the stuff I've picked up in August. So before I start, however, it's become a tradition, I need to raise a toast to Mr. ZX Tetley, so cheers mate. That is nice. Unusual this. The good thing is I'm recording this at 2 in the afternoon, so not 10 in the morning like last time, so it feels a bit safer to be drinking alcohol. The last glass was the 37th Norwich Beer Festival. This is the 38th, and yes, that's the Edith Cavell Memorial glass, a prominent nurse who, I should have fact checked this. I can't remember if she nursed soldiers during the war or she set up a hospice, but certainly she was someone of local prominence. So I remember that was, in fact I think there was an ale named after her as well. So the whole thing was themed around Edith Cavell. So the reason I say it's an unusual ale is because it's not an ale at all. It is Nevergate's White Stout Pale Ale. Well, maybe it is an ale. I just saw white stout. Nevergate is a local brewer to me, and it's unusual to have a pale coloured stout, but it's very nice. Now, the reason I'm sort of sitting oddly and only showing you one arm is because I've had some additions to my other arm. So, I have had some more tattoo, and I now have the beginnings of a shmup actually on my arm. Hopefully that's coming across okay on the camera. It's loosely based on Mushihima-sama, a shooter I've talked about before. The translation is Bug Princess, so there's the ship firing the laser, and there's the bee, which is like a boss, and then I've got a couple of ladybirds, and then some ground units, a couple of spiders, and obviously I can add more to this. I had this done yesterday by my brother in his new tattoo studio, Catharsis Inc. in North Walsham, Norfolk. It would have been good if I'd remembered where I placed his business card. I'll have to add that in later. The other big pickup I've had, which you may have seen in the last video, is my authentic poncho, which, as you can see, I mean, it's huge, and I would be wearing it, but I don't want to. I've just put some healant on the tattoo. I don't want to get that all over this, but come the winter I will be wearing this, of course. Yes, an authentic poncho from the Dollars trilogy. So that's that. So what else have I got to show you? Well, I've got quite a bit actually. I've got games, modern and retro. One kind of medium hitter, I wouldn't say it's a big hitter, but is carrying on a subset I'm collecting for. So I've got some Switch, got some Dreamcast, got some Saturn, all Japanese of course. Also got a book, lots of DVD, which is unlike me, some 4K, and a couple of toys and some vinyl. So I've been having this debate for a while about CDs and vinyl. But yeah, I went to a local, now what would I call it? I thought it was an auction room. I thought, well, I've never been to an auction room, so I'm never going to bother going there. But no, it's just an antiques place, and it is massive. And they had a whole side room just full of great condition vinyl. So I was more than tempted, and I picked something up. And there is a gaming link to it. There's also a guilty pleasure in there, and I need to think at the back of my mind whether I'm brave enough to show it, but it kind of has a tenuous link by the fact I'm wearing this kind of hat. Anyway, let's dive in. Let's start with the DVDs, and that is Transformers. So several people I know, not least Retro Chef and Lee Nerdy Geezer, will talk about Transformers. So I vaguely remember it back in the day. I remember having the Panini sticker book, and I think that was the closest I ever got to having a full album. you know, where you could send away for the last few that you need. I wish I still had it, but I don't. Anyway, I can't remember watching Transformers since, so I figured, well, let's just get it. So I picked the entire set up. I mean, that in itself, I had to reach out to Nerdy Geezer for some advice, because there were different sets. There were these really nice kind of like silver box sets, sort of gave me sort of Super Deluxe vibes on the Switch. But I weren't sure if it was a full set, and also that they were sort of, there was no sort of, what's the word, uniformity in the way they appeared, unlike these. So then we have part 2, part 1, part 2, part 2, seasons 3 and 4 in one set, and then the movie, which I'm pretty certain I've never seen. So yes. So when they were talking about Transformers, I thought, why not get in on that? So that's the first lot. Then I went to a car boot. Oh dear me, this is a story in itself. So I haven't been to a car boot in the best part of 2 years. Went there with my partner the other week, and the layout had changed because they're putting in a bit of a bypass and a roundabout, so half the road's dug up, the field's moved. It's not quite as big as it was. Anyway, and evidently the food vendor had changed, because I know it's a bit weird, but I'm not one of these people that can get there at 5 in the morning and sneak around in people's boots. That's not me. I have a little bit more decorum than that, which might sound controversial, but I can't, you know. I get there at a more leisurely pace, around 8, half 8 maybe, and I'll start by heading for the food vendor, and I want a burger for breakfast and then a coffee. Honestly, the service was so slow trying to get the burger, and then the card machine didn't work, so someone in front of me who'd ordered I don't know how much didn't have enough cash, and then the coffee vendor, separate to that, honestly, I stood there for 40 minutes trying to get a coffee, and time was ticking, and in the end I spent longer queuing for food and drink than I ever did looking at any stalls. In fact, I would say you get service, you get better service in Squid Games, which is a series I recently watched. Loved that. Anyway, speaking of series, this is not Squid Games, that is Blackadder. So a classic BBC sort of comedy, of course, with Rowan Atkinson and obviously Hugh Laurie, Stephen Fry. I'm trying to think of Baldrick's name without looking. I've got a feeling it might be Tony someone. Is it Tony Robinson? It could be. I'm going to go with that. Anyway, this, it's like a book, and you know, I hope you can see all that. It's all in mint condition. Really chuffed with that. There's also a little booklet thing. Oh, there we go. It all opens up. £1. £1. Oh, I'm getting Carry On Camping vibes now, where love Peter Butterworth. So Al's Arcade. You'll know where I'm going with this. Everything is £1. I want to put up a washing line. How much is that? £1. He gets all nervous and twitchy because he sees that Sid James's character has got a handful of pound notes, so everything is obviously £1, which back then was probably quite a bit of money. Now, the funny thing about mentioning the Carry On movies, which was completely off the cuff there, I was just thinking of Pound and Peter Butterworth, is because the next collection is the full Carry On collection. So Al's Arcade continually talks about the Carry On movies, and I realised or figured that most of them I'd never seen. I mean, there are, well, perhaps it says here, all 30. I certainly haven't seen 30 Carry On movies. So I thought, well, this was inexpensive. I mean, I find it interesting that it says ITV Studios, but I don't know how much of a hand they had in it. But anyway, so I've watched the first two, which I've not seen before. They were in black and white, and I do have a soft spot. I think there's something quite, I don't know, cultured about a black and white movie. Interesting word when you talk about Carry On. But what I really appreciate is that in Carry On, yeah, Sergeant, I just assumed it was the police one. I just thought Sergeant, police sergeant. No, it's an army sergeant played by none other than the great William Hartnell, who of course I'm familiar with as the original Doctor Who. So yes, so I was pleased to pick that up, and I've started watching them, and as you can imagine, you know, I just put it on, relax and chill out. I haven't got to do any thinking. I can relax that old brain of mine. What it does mean though, and I know this will start a mad scramble, it means I now have a duplicate of Carry On Cowboy. So, you know, you'll have to fight it out in the comments if someone's interested in that. Now, moving on, we get to some 4K now. So, things are stepping up the notch somewhat. We have Dirty Harry's... Yeah, Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry. Yes, in 4K. This is the trouble. I pop on Amazon and I see these deals, 3 for 50 quid. And then, as I said before, you put one in the basket because you see what else part of that deal. I'll put one in and then that won't be part of that deal, and it becomes a bit of a game. But as I alluded to in my last video, I've started picking up westerns. So on that basis, I've got The Outlaw Hosey Wales, and one of my favourite westerns, Pale Rider. As again, you know, as we know, he's a no-nonsense character in that. And then I managed to pick up A Fistful of Dollars in 4K, which I spoke about in my last video. So when the Dollars trilogy came out in 4K, released by Arrow, as this is, they were in limited number. They were being re-released, I believe, on the 13th of this month, September. And yet I saw this on HMV. The other two, for a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, I've pre-ordered through HMV. So I will have the full set. And as I said before, I don't need steel books and extended editions. So there we are, some more westerns and building up the 4K collection. So, retro or modern? Actually, let's have a little mouthful of Nevergate's White Stout first. I think we should go modern and save the retro until last. I'll give a shout out to a chap I've not met or spoken with before. Managed to pick up some great titles from him thanks to Lee Retro Chef's Swap Shop. So I need to give him a shout out. But in terms of the modern stuff, modern shooters, I've got Caladrius. I did have this on the PS4, but obviously I don't have that anymore. Yeah, it's not a bad little shooter. You the premise of this is that I think you control a female character, and I think as you take damage, they become unclothed. It's Japan, you know, this is the sort of stuff they go for. Crisis Wing. I'm really looking forward to playing this. This looks like a kind of modern neon version of Truxton. It's certainly got that kind of look about it. Then we have Miss Kobayashi's Dragon. I have played this. It's not the best game in the world, but I think it was cheap. So this is a Play Asia order, and I think this was like £15. Well, of course, if I see a shooter on the Switch, I haven't got 15 quid, I'm going to go with that. The next one I can't wait to play, and that is a newer version of Shikondo Soul Eater. This is a very stylish, I think it's a Korean bullet hell, and it is bizarre. I think the first boss character is a female, kind of semi-naked spiderling. It's bizarre, but I will showcase that at some point. I was really tempted, I must say, to go with the deluxe edition, because then you've got like a little standee and the soundtrack, because the music is great. When it gets to the boss stage, it really ramps up. It sort of reminds me almost of a kind of, what's that band called? Atari Teenage Riot. It's like a wall of sound, really loud. I don't know how else to describe it, but yeah, that was quite good. What else have we got? Oh yes, Thunder Ray. This is a great game. This is a sort of a nod to Punch Out on the old Nintendo. Very difficult, but very stylish. Sort of psychedelic. You basically control a boxer. I think you're sort of zapped by an alien with this little ray gun, and then you have to go and fight intergalactic fights against all manner of aliens. Really good, but very difficult. So put those there. Now the next two, I was really chuffed to pick up because it meant that I could move off the Evercade. So I had an Evercade for a while. I had it in my head I would collect the arcade cartridges. They're all numbered, as you probably know. So I think it's a way to hook you into end up having a full set. And the Evercade is very successful. There's no doubt about it. They put out some good products. They refreshed the hardware fairly regularly, and the system I had was the original one. I got wind of the fact that the firmware updates wouldn't apply to it. So anyway, I wasn't overly enamored with the system. In fact, in terms of it was a rabbit hole I didn't need to go down. But the reason I went down that road was to pick up the Tower Pan collection, which I'm pleased to say have just been released on the Switch. So I now have Tower Plan 1 and 2, and as far as I'm aware, this contains all the games that are on those Evercade carts 1, 2, 3 and 4. The highlight for me in these undoubtedly is having a home console port, or an arcade port rather, of Outzone, the kind of top-down run and gun from, well, obviously from Tower Plan, but I just loved that back in the day. When I next produce a video, I'll certainly showcase it. But yeah, Outzone is a fantastic game. Not easy, but I used to play. I played that as much in the arcade, almost as much as I did Street Fighter 2. They were the two. Outzone, Street Fighter 2, and then occasionally it'd be Ivan Stewart's off-road racing, maybe a little bit of Power Drift. But yes, so Tower Plan Collection 1 and 2, that's excellent. That justifies moving the Evercade on. One more Switch game, and this is a behemoth. This is, I naively thought it would fit on top of my bookcase behind me, but it clearly won't. And that is Metroid Dread. Spoiler, or no, disclaimer rather. I've never played a Metroid game before, so I went round Scott Sega Zombies. He was playing it, and I thought this looks fantastic. And he had this big box collection that he was happy to move on because it's huge. I mean, the size of the box, it's larger than A4. Now I've got the room to display it, obviously. I've just got to work out how and where. But anyway, pleased to have that. Oh, well, let's just put them down there for now. But it comes with a nice steel book. Quite stylish. Some nice little pieces of art. Like postcards. These almost feel like they could be self-adhesive. But they probably would look pretty decent in a frame. So I guess I could look into that. Actually, I've still got some. I'm looking up there. You won't be able to see it, but I've got similar size kind of postcards from the game Stray, which I really enjoyed. So maybe they could go in a frame. But the reason that box is so large is because of this. A fully illustrated kind of journal of missions and all the artwork. I mean, it's hard to show this, but really cool. In fact, now I think about it, I'm going to scare my brother now. I could get some ideas for a tattoo here, couldn't I? I assume these are all sort of enemies and stuff from the game itself. I've not played it that far. I've played it a bit. I've been playing it with my lad. So we've been taking turns. Although when it gets to the boss fight, much like Cuphead, I hand him the control and say, yeah, just sort that out. Yeah. So really quite cool. I mean, you can see it's quite thick, quite weighty. That's why the box is the size it is. So that's that. Now, for some retro gaming. And when I was on Swap Shop, I got in contact with Coxy, as he's known in the community. Lovely chap. He has a huge collection. Unfortunately, I don't believe he has a YouTube channel, which is a shame because he's got so much cool stuff. But I was able to negotiate a deal with him and pick up 6 Dreamcast games. And, you know, these are just, well, as you know, I'm going for shooters. So because of that, almost exclusively, so because of that, there are many sort of staple games I don't have on the Dreamcast. So I was able to pick up Sonic Adventure, the absolutely awesome Soul Calibur, Buggy Heat, which I've never played before, quite like that. The game I really wanted to play, 18-wheeler, which is, you know, it's just Sega at its finest. It's arcade racing. It's hard. I can only get to the 3rd stage, but it literally is just one more go, because, you know, it's just instant sort of gratification from the game. And then Zombie Revenge or Zombie Hunter? No, Zombie Hunter. I've not played this yet. And then the other game that came as part of the deal was Crazy Taxi. But I need to get that looked at. It's a bit marked and doesn't play, but Coxie was excellent. He gave me a refund on that, so really appreciate that, mate. So these games are all perfect, in mint condition. They work fantastically well, so happy with that. Then we get to the Japanese Saturn, and I meant to look up the translation for the name of this game before I recorded this video, but I forgot. So you'll have to put it in the comments below. It's a Capcom side scroller, because I do like my brawlers. And I think this is the one that reminds me slightly of Golden Axe. And I can't remember what it's called. So really, but anyway, I've not played it yet. Complete with Obi card. Really pleased to have that. So yes, when my friend comes around, he'll moan. He comes around, my mate Phil. I'll show him these games, and then he'll be wanting to buy them. So he came around the other week, and we played Dungeons and Dragons for the first time. We also played, and completed Hot Blooded Family. Fantastic game. So this will certainly be the next one. Then the last game, I'm not sure if it's a big hitter or not, but it carries on the subset, and that is the one of those 4 meg expansion carts, and this is X-Men versus Street Fighter. Again, in mint condition, complete, fantastic. As I've said, early research or initial research tells me there are about 20 of these. I need to get a comprehensive list, because I've got 4. There are another 1 or 2 that are kind of within my grasp, so I dare say I'll have another in the next pickup bid. But that's it for the games. Now, one pickup I nearly forgot about, but it will come as no surprise. The minute I get a 360 or a new console to play shooters, I have to have one of these. And that is the excellent Hori Rap Pro, or Rap Real Arcade Pro joystick. This is the number 4. I have 3 of these now. One for the Switch, that's the 5, the Rap 5. I've got the Rap 4 for the PS4 and also the PS3. This is for Xbox and 360. And whilst I don't have a PS4 or 3, because of the adapter I have, I've got a Brooks adapter, so I can basically use any of those for my Saturn or Dreamcast. I don't use it for the Saturn because my favourite stick is the Hori fighting stick. So I think, actually that must make I've got about 5 of these sticks now then. But anyway, they're all excellent. I was happy to pick that up. And it means now I've got that, I will be able to showcase, and I will do some shooters on the 360. Something like Moochie Moochie Pork, because that's, well, it's not unknown, but I don't see that showcased very often. And also, of course, Raiden Fighters Aces, just here, which I haven't yet played, so I need to get into some of that. Now, what's next? A book. So I do like my fantasy, and I picked up Terry Pratchett's Going Postal. I basically have a rule. If I see a Pratchett book, secondhand, Cowboy or anything like that, and I haven't got it, I pick it up. And I'm slowly getting a full set. I say slowly. I think this is book number 3 that I've got. So, you know, and this is one of the later ones. So there's about 26 in the middle I need to yet get. So that's that. Then you'll recall last time out I had the car garage. I haven't built that as yet. I need to clean it first. But I thought I'd pick up a couple of cars. Now the thing about it is, well, I've got that photograph I could use as a reference, but I'm trying to work out what cars I had and which ones are my brother's. I think I may have had this one back in the day. Is that a Dodge? You know, I'm doing that. I'm not going to be able to read now. Oh, I don't know. I can't see if I take my glasses off, but there's that. And then the little forklift, which I certainly remember having. And obviously that goes up and down, and I think that also tilts forward and back, but might need a bit of WD-40 on that. But there's those 2 little things. And then last but not least, some vinyl. And I did say there was a gaming link to this, and I was so pleased when I saw this. I thought that there's no ways I am leaving that behind, and that is the very best of the ink spots. And of course, if I'm talking about the ink spots, the game I'm referring to is Fallout 3. So yeah, this is in great condition. It was inexpensive, and yes, I just love that the whole soundtrack, that sort of 1930s pirate radio back in I can't remember where Fallout 3 was set exactly now, but yes, I certainly recall listening to the ink spots, and I'm trying to think who else was on there. I know you can YouTube a playlist. It'll play all those tracks. Yeah, my mind's gone blank. But anyway, pleased to have the ink spots. I might have mentioned before, I love prog rock, so I had to pick up Hawkwind's first album. Quite a bit different from their later stuff, but yep, happy to have that again in great condition. I then have a couple of soundtracks. So, and at this point, these are £1 from the car boot. So, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And then a soundtrack to a movie I still haven't watched yet, and that is 2001 Space Odyssey. Again, I think this might have been a few quid, this one. I think this came, I got this from the antique shop, so I think I might have paid like £4 for it. And then the last is a guilty pleasure. Right, okay, I need anyone watching this will need a mouthful of drink at this point. It's not something I would listen to very often. For some reason, it makes me think of Clint Eastwood. And if I can get Clint Eastwood into the conversation, that automatically gives it some gravitas and makes it cooler and more acceptable. And in particular, I'm picturing him in the Any Which Way You Can and Any Which Way But Lose, when he's in the bar. I am wearing a kind of hat that goes with it. And of course, therefore, I'm talking about country music. I don't mind a little bit of country, as I said. Wouldn't listen to it often. I do love prog rock. But I've got a beer on the go, and it is the end of the video. And what's the worst that can happen? This only cost me £1. My partner who was with me, after she'd just about got over the fact of me chewing her ear off about how we spent an hour and a half, or best part of, queuing up for a bloody burger and a coffee, and sellers are packing up. But she made it clear in no uncertain terms I should never ever attempt to play this in her earshot. So it did only cost £1, and this will probably cost me some subscribers. So that's the way it goes. Is she a daisy? I don't know. But that is Tammy Wynette. Is it a best of? Or 20 years of hits? Well, there we are. I don't think I can really recover this video from that moment on, but there we are. Tammy Wynette, guilty pleasure. But yes. Anyway, there's my pickup vids. I've already got a few things already this month. And I'm already brokering a deal with another YouTuber to pick up a load of Japanese satin. And there's one big hitter in there that I'm quite looking forward to getting my hands on. Anyway, that's it. And remember, you are indeed a daisy if you do.